welcome to Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Welcome to another episode of Up Close with Carlos Sang. I am so excited to be able to introduce my next guest. I've been wanting to interview him for some time. He is one of the most exciting actors, writers, composers out there right now. It's a huge delight to be able to introduce Lewis Cornay. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
So you recently just came back from New York, very praising John and Jen. When you finished doing the show back in 2021, did you feel like you were done with the show, or was there always more you wanted to explore with your characters?
That's a really good question. I think because we did it at a time when COVID was still very much with us. I mean, it still is with us, but it was coming out of the peak. It felt like luck that we managed to put it on. And therefore, I think I didn't take in how amazing the experience was. I don't think either of us did, really. So yeah, I always felt like hopefully it will have another life, but I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be going to New York to do it at 54 Below. That is so rogue. Yeah, and I'm really happy we did, because we both managed to find more in the characters, and it sits better in my voice now than I think it did then. It's very low, very, very low for my voice. And I managed to sort of find new approaches to it. It's a very rich story.
Yeah, I mean, John and Jen is also perhaps, one of Andrew Lipper's, less well-known works. Why do you think it seems to be resonating with audiences today, particularly?
I don't know. I think actually it resonated a lot with people when we were coming out of COVID, because, spoiler alert, the show is about loss at its heart, really. And people sadly knew what that felt like. And grief can be all different things. It can be losing people just in a relationship. It can be losing people in all different ways. And I think that's why it really resonated then. And I think now it's been updated, the book. It used to be in like the 60s, 70s. It now is in the 90s and ends in modern day. So we go for a time frame that's very much in the zeitgeist in like the 90s. The impact of Trump is very present within the show now. It feels like the impact of brainwashing, especially my character. He joins the army and stuff like that. So I think it really, people understand exactly what's going on. It does seem, especially in America, people went wild. People really, really connected to the show.
Yeah. I mean, what was the experience like being in New York too? Did the experience end up being what you'd expected it to be?
It was stupid. It was stupid. It was everything I wanted it to be. Andrew Lipper was MDing the show, which is wild. And yeah, it was everything I wanted it to be. I think I thought that we'd be there for like weeks rehearsing it, getting it back on its feet. We only did like a couple of hours rehearsal, but it just managed to it was still in our bodies. And so that shocked me how quickly it came back. But yeah, it was, I mean, I've watched, I'm sure you have too, so many videos of 54 Below on YouTube. Like, that is my life. That is my religion. And so to get to then sit and talk to the people that run 54 Below and talk to them about how much I love the venue, it was a very Inception-y kind of moment. But yeah, it was everything I wanted.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, seeing, how, you're still a somewhat young actor, but you've actually been performing for, the best part of 20 years now.
47 years in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what would you say is, the biggest misconception about being an actor?
These questions are so good. I think...
Thank you.
It's really making me think. The biggest misconception... Oh, that you're an extrovert. That's definitely a big misconception. I think that people assume that because you want to be on stage and perform, that in your life, you're also like that. And I'm definitely not that way inclined. I can be, but I would say I'm more of an introvert. I get my fill on stage of all of that, and I don't need to do that in my personal life. When people are always, it's Christmas and like, oh, go on, give us a song. and stuff like that. That's not, I don't think every actor is like that. Some are, and that's fine. But me personally, also I'm an awful liar. So many people go, oh, because you're an actor, you must be a really good liar. I'm the worst liar. The worst liar. Did you watch The Traitors?
The Traitors? No, I didn't. I missed it.
Oh, it was so good. But on that, any actors, they were like, oh, you can't trust them. You can't trust them because they'd be brilliant liars. It's not the case. It's not, and they
Oh.
weren't. They weren't good liars. So,
Yeah, I mean, of course, you're not just an actor, as we said, you're also a writer, composer, photographer. How do you
oh God.
manage, how do you manage to, juggle, wearing so many different hats?
Well, Jack of all trades, master of none. That's going to get tattooed across my chest. I hadn't thought about the photography. I haven't kept that up really, but I was doing headshots, and that was a really great way. I really enjoyed it because it's a good way to meet new people and sort of connect with people in the industry. And yeah, that's a good reminder. I'll get back onto it. Maybe I can't right now because there's too many things to juggle. But the writing and the acting really complement each other. They don't feel like separate worlds. Because the nice thing is, if I haven't got an acting job, or I know I've got an acting job, it's a while off, or I don't know, you feel like I feel like I'm getting my creative fix by writing. And they're both the same thing. It's both just because I want to tell stories. And sometimes I can tell stories I want more if I'm writing them. And sometimes that feels better. But sometimes I get an amazing role that I would never have imagined playing, or a complex character that I'm like, oh, this is juicy. But they're both linked.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of my favorite plays that I saw last year was Daddy Issues.
Oh, thank you
Um,
so
it was
much.
so wonderful. I remember, yeah, I remember just like being really moved by, Imi's story. How did you begin, crafting a character like Imi and, bringing her to life?
Oh, thank you. We in COVID, everything in my life happened in COVID, but it was, I don't know the year. When was John and Jen? 2020? Is that when that was? That was it.
2021, I think it
21.
was. Yeah.
Okay, so I think I met with Liam Gartland, the producer, in about 2020. Um, and Liam had said that they wanted to see a piece about suicide prevention that was funny, uh, which obviously isn't initially an obvious fit. And we met and we had a chat about it. And I was really inspired by what Liam shared about their own experiences. And we met with Liam's friend, India Chadwick, who had really amazing experiences. And they were so open and vulnerable with me. And so I went away and I was like, what about something like this? And Daddy Issues, we came up with the title as soon as I sat there at the table, because I was like, it seemed so perfect for the piece. And had focus groups, met with more and more people. And I just found it so compelling and so inspiring how people deal with grief, and how humor is such a coping mechanism. And I think coping mechanisms get a bad rep. I think people don't understand how useful that can be and how necessary and urgent that is in that moment in time. And so I wanted to explore somebody who is dealing with grief through humor. And within the humor, obviously, you see the tragedy and you see the cracks start to appear. And I just, as soon as I started thinking of who Amy was, I fell in love with her, which sounds a bit cringe to say that because I did write it myself, but it gets to the point sometimes when you're writing stuff, and the best feeling is when a character says something that actually surprises you and you're like, this character is really, really coming to life. So yeah, she means a lot. And Bebe Cave, who played Imi, I'm sure you could agree, did a ridiculously brilliant job. And as soon as we met, me and Bebe are very much on the same page, and our humor is very, very similar. So it was just a perfect combination.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was, of course, the play did very well, with audiences and with critics alike as well. Yeah. I mean, when you were crafting this production, did you ever consider, directing the production as well? And, what were those conversations like with Liam Gartland and Jane Moriarty on, putting together at the Seven Dials Playhouse?
I no, I never would have directed it. I would be an awful director. I can't demand any authority in a room. And I always think two heads are better than one. Collaboration is so important for me. And I think also because it's a female-centric story, it felt right to have a female director. And so Jane came on quite late to the project, but it was perfect. It was Jane has a lot more experience than I do, so she brought that to the room, and also it's quite different. I think Jane would say herself that we're quite different people, and that means we bounce with each other really well, and it meant that completely different angles were found within the show. A lot, and brilliant, like a brilliant dramaturg as well. A lot of it was edited and crafted, and that was largely down to Jane and Bebe. Bebe's also a brilliant writer, so there was a lot of collaboration in the room.
Yeah, I mean, like many others as well, I wish, the show had a longer run at the Seven Dials Playhouse. What do you see as being the future of Daddy Issues?
Well, I can't give anything away, but there should be a future. We're hoping at the end of this year. We'll see. I'm not done with it yet. I still want to there's still stuff I want to explore within the show, and I think having it at Seven Dials was an amazing way to show it to the world, and now there's stuff that I want to hone in on.
Oh, amazing. You also recently won the New Music Theatre Award for Harry and Greta. What are you envisaging for, the upcoming workshop with British Youth Music Theatre?
Well, so actually, so that's not a workshop, that's a production.
Oh, right. Okay. So what are you envisaging for the production?
For the production, I mean, it's I'm writing a show for 35 young people, so I'm envisioning chaos, and I'm actually doing a workshop though of it next week at Leeds Conservatoire, and I'm really looking forward to that because I'm hoping that the students will help me. It's such an amazing opportunity because what it allows me is to delve into subjects that I'm interested in. The show is largely about the politicization of climate change and climate justice, and that requires quite a lot of research, and I wouldn't have time to do that research really on my own, so having a commission to do that is amazing. And it's a good chance for me. Musicals are such humongous beasts, and it's a great chance for me to just try stuff out without the pressure and take what I learn into future projects. And who knows, maybe this will be absolutely humongous, the show, and it will go to Broadway, but I'm doing it for the chance to work with a really exciting new generation of performers, and also to develop my skills because I am still new at this.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as well. The first time I came to see you in anything was at Sheffield Crucible in She Loves Me. And
Oh,
yeah, it seems like, such a different sort of show to the one that, I would normally associate you with. What was it that, drew you to that show?
what would you not? What would you normally associate me with?
Like, like more modern sort of shows, things like
Mm.
John and Jen, things, which are perhaps more contemporary and less, golden age.
Yes, yeah, that's a fair point. I always wanted to work at the Crucible, so that was a number one tick. And as soon as I knew they were doing She Loves Me, I knew in my gut that I knew that song because I used to sing that song that Arpad sings in Act Two at drama school, and I was like, "Come on, this has to happen." And I met the team who are all so lovely and so brilliant, and yeah, I knew I also love doing. It's just interesting hearing what other people might think of what I do or what the kind of style is, because I love to do as much as possible, really. Legit, it also used to be very much more my safe space, and then after at drama school I worked more on contemporary stuff, and now I do tend to do more contemporary, but yeah, I think it's such a. Did you enjoy the show?
I loved it. Yes. I love Golden Age musical theatre. It was so right up my street. Seeing Alex Young singing "Where's My Shoe."
Oh yes, I know. I was obsessed. Yeah, I think it's just like such a perfect little show. Little but also huge. Like there's so much to it.
Mm.
And yeah. And the cast, I've still talked to a lot of the cast. It was a really special time, because that was also difficult with COVID, but we all stuck together and we managed to get through the whole run. I've been very lucky.
Yeah, a hot topic in the theatre world right now, of course, is also audience behaviour. The Edinburgh Playhouse, recently issued a statement about, front of house staff being physically assaulted and spat on. Do you think audience etiquette is on the decline at all?
You know what? I haven't thought about that. I'm trying to think, what was the last show that I did? It's been the Watermill. Everyone was very, very polite at the Watermill. I think you tend to maybe get it in the bigger houses, and I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? Because you want audiences to have a good time. You want audiences to have fun, but there has to be a level of respect that I think is missed for actors. And I think sometimes it's because, like, nowadays, why do I sound like an old man? But nowadays, obviously we can all sit at home, we can watch Netflix, we can watch something on streaming, and that is sort of the first port of call for entertainment because it's accessible and it's easy. And I think then less people go to the theatre now, probably because of that. And when they do, if they're not theatre goers that are going every single week, they forget maybe that the actors on stage are there live, not consciously, but I think you forget that they're actual people because we're not used to live entertainment as much as we used to be. So I can understand it must be very annoying in the jukebox musicals when people are singing, because I think sometimes people get confused with what the show might be and if it's a sing-along.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that when I go to see shows, though. Just have a sing-along, see what happens.
Okay, yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that. Obviously, yeah, again, mentioning the Watermill recently. The Arts Council England also recently, reduced funding for a lot of theatres, like the Don Mora House, the Watermill. What do you think, lies in store for the future of theatre?
Oh goodness, I don't know. I mean, what really worries me, and especially for the Watermill, it's such an amazing venue, and they also really push the boundaries of what theatre's doing, what they can do with that space. They take shows on tour around the UK. I really do not understand that decision. I don't think a lot of people understand that decision, and it's just unfair, like completely unfair to the Watermill. The future of theatre, I don't know. I really don't know. It feels like we're at a shift at the moment, but I can't work out what that shift is. It feels like we're still recovering from COVID. Who knew I talk about COVID so much in this interview, but I keep mentioning COVID. But I do feel like we're still not out of that. And, you do go and watch things and they're not full. And that is worrying. But obviously things do work, and it's like cabaret. Tickets are so expensive to see that, but people still go and see it. So there is still a hunger for theatre and stories. I just wonder where we'll be in 5 years, 10 years time. I'd love to see, obviously as a writer, I'd love to see more new musicals, British musicals. We see new plays, and that's amazing and brilliant. But I'd love to see some new British musicals. But I also understand it is so risky at the moment. So that's probably why we're not seeing that much.
Yeah. I think it's also really interesting how you mentioned ticket prices, because there's been so much debate around ticket prices. I remember a couple of weeks ago there was talk about West End actors going on strike because they wouldn't be able to afford to go to their own shows on their current wage. Would you support actors going on strike?
Oh yeah, I would. But it's a really tricky one because with the ticket price situation, you don't want to then make theatre inaccessible for people. But then it's hard in terms of actors' wages. Where's that going to come from? And are you going to then stop people from going to the theatre? So it's a really tough debate. I mean, I don't think it should be a debate that actors' wages should be going up. I think that seems quite clear that needs to change.
Yeah, I really wanted to talk to you about Whistle Down the Wind as well, because that production kind of blew my mind with the direction that it went into. It was so different to the cast recording. I remember talking to Rob Tripolino, who was talking about, how it was so different to previous productions. And I was really curious to know, how was that experience performing this lesser known Andrew Lloyd Webber musical for a 2020s audience?
It was a real challenge, the production, in the best way, because it is one of Angela Webber's lesser known musicals. I mean, one or two of the songs. I knew Whistle Down the Wind, but I didn't really know anything else. And also because it was acting musician, that was my first time really doing an acting musicianship job. I was playing electric guitar, never played electric guitar in my life. So that was really difficult. But the story itself, doing it in an intimate setting like that, was amazing. The cast blow my mind, the talent in the cast. And I think I learned a lot in that show. I also was given the opportunity to play a character so against type. And I'm really thankful to Tom, the director, for trusting that I can act. Just so that, but sometimes you audition for things and people find it hard to see beyond how you're walking into the room, how I might be in real life. But Tom could see that, no, I can act something that's very different from me. And so that was the main thing that I really enjoyed about that, is playing this sort of womanizing troublemaker.
Yeah.
It was great to get to play that.
Yeah. Was there anything about Amos that you were able to identify within yourself as well?
Oh, there must have been something, because there was a hook in for me. I think Amos was a character that I think that was hurting and was lashing out to try and alleviate that pain. And I'm not somebody that lashes out, but there's quite a childlike nature to it.
Mm.
And I can connect, actually, in a way that I can't connect with, is that he was very free. He wore his heart on his sleeve. And I feel like as a child, I was quite like that as well. And so it was quite nice, actually, to connect with my #inner child. But I just love the fact that he's really nothing like me. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're also about to reunite with Christie Bhima on SpongeBob the Musical. Yeah,
Yes.
why did you want to get involved with that project as well?
Um, so when SpongeBob came out on Broadway, I remember exactly what I was doing. I remember I used to go to the gym, used to listen to it on Spotify. Yes, I go to the gym, and not working. And I was like, oh, I love the music and this is amazing. I wonder if it'll ever come here. Then when it was announced a while ago, I don't know why, but I never even considered the fact that, I could do that. I don't know why. I think it was because it was a dream that I had quite a while ago. And then as soon as I met the team and did the material, I was like, there's no way that I can't do this. There's no way. I am a sponge. I am a sponge. And my life has been leading to this sponge-like moment. And it's just also, I haven't done something out and out funny in a really long time.
Mm.
Something that is just joyful and entertaining and silly. And I don't think I've really ever done that. But I love comedy. And so that's why it felt right to do it now. And yeah, when me and Chrissy sort of found out at the same time that we got it, and we were so excited to get to do it with each other.
Yeah, I mean, you previously did Paw Patrol Live, which is also, part of that Nickelodeon universe.
Yeah. Oh my God, you've really delved in. I try and that was like my first job out of drama school, and yeah, that's actually quite handy. I mean, it's a very different thing because this is obviously a Broadway musical, and that was Paw Patrol was very much tailored, obviously, for very, very young people and families. I think SpongeBob will still be for families and stuff, but it's actually it was a very good experience because I learned how to respond to younger people when they don't have the attention span that adults might. Yeah.
Yeah, you've also been, really open about, your own personal struggles with, depression and anxiety, and you've, incorporated a lot of these themes in your own writing, on things like snowflake, daddy issues. How do you overcome your struggles in your day-to-day life as well?
I don't. No, I don't. Well, by writing, that's a large reason why writing. Uh, that's a large reason why I think writing is so important to me, because it's a way of almost journaling how I feel. Daddy issues, even though I'm not Immy, it's very cathartic to get all those feelings out and to say things that are completely outrageous, but they're things that are lying dormant, I think, at the back of your brain, especially in terms of mental health. Yeah, and I think I wrote a show called The Curious Case of Lewis Cornay, and that was at the other palace, and it was a one person show, very self-indulgent about me, and sort of taking the audience through like different years of my life and stuff. And it felt almost like stand up. And it was just so cathartic to be able to share that with a room of people, because things just don't seem as big. They don't seem as scary once people laugh with you. And there's a big difference between laughing at you and with you. But I feel like if you can write about something, you have the control and you can decide when or if people are laughing. And that's a very good feeling. But also, as I'm saying it, very controlling. But I think that's the way I deal with it. But there's also no way to deal with mental health. The end. That's very unhopeful. But as in, you've got to just, I think the best way to approach it is by letting it be, not approaching it with hate, not approaching it with a sense of resentment, and rather trying to find ways to be kind to yourself. I think as actors, it's very easy not to be kind to yourself. I don't know why that is, but I guess we're all a bit insecure.
Yeah. What piece of advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
Oh, I feel like I'm on Drag Race. What would I say? I would say the things that you feel like are negatives are ultimately going to be positives. The things that the way that you're thinking about yourself, the negative things that you're thinking about yourself are going to be the things that people celebrate.
It's been amazing talking to you over the
You
last
too.
30 minutes. Just as a last question, what would you say is the best part about being Lewis Cornay?
My amazing body. No, what's the best part? The best part is being, oh, there's two things. Number one, what I get to do as a job is ridiculously amazing. The fact that I get to do writing and acting, that is amazing. But it's also amazing that I'm surrounded by the most supportive and generous friends. And that probably trumps it all. Friends and family. So yeah.
Lewis Cornay, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.